Good morning and happy Friday. How are we doing out there? I know the bulls are happy. That is for sure. Look at that SPY price action here at open on the 5-minute candles. SPY is ripping up towards 661 resistance, and it might try to go for a breakout here. Hope you guys like the 80s synthwave music. Pretty sick. Nice jump on SPY, Jake said. Hell yeah, it is. Let's go, let's go. An awesome Friday here cooking up for us. If you're just now joining up, destroy that like button. Let's get to 30 likes fast today. There we go, 661 touching as we speak. This is a critical range of resistance for us. This was a big support for SPY to break down the past couple trading days. Once the breakdown occurred, we saw a much larger move happen, and that's exactly what we're watching for here. Is the SPY going to get up and through this? I think that there's a good possibility. I actually think you could scalp it up to 662. Could be a pretty good 1-point scalp if we do get that 661 breakout starting. I guess it would be more like a 90-cent scalp at that point, but nonetheless, it's on the radar for a possible pop, but major resistance. I love the way it's setting up at open, though. A lot of good bullishness again right away. We're testing it quick, which is a good sign in my book, so let's go, SPY. Let's get that action going. You can see just how critical this range is, though. It's already reacting. Big Bear AI pulling back a bit at open. Been eyeing this one up lately. You know, it'll have some pretty crazy days from time to time. Going over to our watch list today. Leading it is Energy Fuels. There we go. Energy Fuels popping it off. 7.4%. This stock has been outperforming many others lately. It's been insane. If we go to the April low to the current high for it's up 485%. That's quite a good number. It's hard to find ones that are that good. How's MP Materials? I know this one has been pretty popular in 2025. Let's just cherry pick the low to the high. 485%. It has to beat, and this was at 339%. So Energy Fuels is even beating MP Materials this year. Pretty crazy to say. Good morning, Demure. Literally made almost $700 in like 8 seconds. Hey, there we go, Demure. Dubs in the chat for you today. That's pretty fire, man. $700 in 8 seconds here at open. Okay. I like it. Get your dubs in the chat for Demure today. That's what we like to hear. Beautiful. $661 still holding up for now. SPY's chopping around the range. Hopefully Team USA can get going here on the Ryder Cup a bit more. I need a Team USA win. City said, Tom, what do you think about Rocket Lab, RKLB? Let's go see. It's pulling back really hard at open. Uh-oh. Looks pretty bearish today. Yeah, it looks pretty bearish here. Uh-oh. Be wary of that. Tom, morning. QQQ trading the open. Tips appreciated. Still getting the feel. Keep in mind that this morning's a pretty crazy morning. So far, though, good PA up. He said 569. I'm assuming you mean 596, I guess. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. It's actually just under the high from pre-market. I would think that you could hit that target pretty well from where we are. I'm glad that we've seen a pop so far from open. It makes me fairly confident to the upside, but again, it's a weird open today. It's a weird opening move. It's a good one, though, to the upside, but we have PCE data that we're contending with. You know, that's the one issue here today, but nonetheless, I love the PA up. There goes SPY breaking above the high of pre-market in 661, starting to break. Watch for 662 for a possible hit up there. I actually don't look at QQQ all that much, WEC. I generally stick on SPY. But, you know, momentum's momentum, right? Doesn't really matter which one you're watching. Bring on 596 QQQ. Of course, QQQ is a lot more tech heavy. AAL continues to slide, Jake said. American Airlines. Pretty big pullback there. Down towards 1130. You said continues to slide. Wow, it really is sliding on the daily chart. Look at how much these turned over. That's pretty brutal. That is brutal. Yvonne said, what do you think of Palantir and CoreWeave? Let's go look at CoreWeave really fast. I actually like CoreWeave a lot. It has a lot of good price action from time to time. I am watching its lower end of support here. It is getting pretty close to testing it again here as it drops down today. Look at the upper end of the range, too. It's up around 136.50 to 138. So I personally like CoreWeave quite a bit where it is. I could see it bouncing up from here and continuing to have good price action. I like the support range. Now, if it starts to break under 124, I'm going to get a bit worried. There's a pretty clear double bottom there. I would look for it to possibly hold there today. As we go towards the daily chart, CoreWeave loves to have these times where it runs up and then it has like 4 weird consolidation days, and then it'll run up and have some consolidation. That's kind of what we're in right now. We're in like that zone of consolidation. If the double bottom holds and the consolidation zone holds up and the uptrend continues, which, you know, I think there's a good shot that that happens, continuing or considering that we're starting an uptrend on the daily chart from $85 here at the very bottom. So we've been uptrending since there. And yeah, the double bottom is pretty clear on support too. Pretty good one. Pretty good level. Lots of bounces around this range, actually. Dak said, you like a stop order for SPY at 661.05 and then sell before hitting the next resistance. A stop at 661.05 would be pretty close, I would think. But I like your overall thinking there on the strategy. You know, you probably have to set it up something like this. You'd probably have to do something more of like this. If not even widening the stop a little bit more just to help with normal volatility, but yeah, it is breaking out. We'll have to see if it can continue here. In theory, the stop might get hit already. I mean, it's pulling back a little bit here. The reason why I threw the stop where I threw it is because of the wicks right where this arrow's going. I'm hoping and looking for SPY to hold this area now that we blasted through it. If it can't hold this area, it's not going to be a good sign. That's why I threw that stop right where I did there on this theoretical stop loss. Because it'll need to hold this and bounce back up. Seems like it's been pretty rough here, moving down again. In theory, the stop just would have hit. Pretty weird PA on the SPY so far. It did have a good initial move, but, you know, I'm sure who out there is really looking for a 60-second move, right? Just keep your eyes on the SPY. It's trying to make up its mind here. It's very stuck here at open. That is a weird breakout and fake back down. Watch around this red zone, though. This red zone is pretty crazy. A lot of up and down PA throughout this one. SPY might try to still go up here. Very weird price action. Hey, I appreciate the message, Gail, but don't spam the chat with Baba 4 times, please. Dak said, what are the numbers? 662, I believe is what I was looking at. Sorry, I'm flying through a lot of numbers here. Wow, look at that volatility. Look at that volatility there. Like I said, in theory, we would need to allow for some chop. Wow. 661.50. That is a crazy hit down and then immediate recovery there. The 0 DTE players would have been feeling that one, especially with that with having a tighter stop, of course. No problem, Silent. QQQ 595.50. That is a huge overhead resistance. 4 hits in a row. That is pretty insane. Watch QQQ for a breakout. Kind of doing what the SPY did. Might try to follow along with SPY here. Go check the Mag 7 setup real fast. Pretty solid, pretty solid. Tom, do you have any trailing stop recommendations for options when they are green? Like trail by 50 cents or something? You know, you can't just use 50 cents, though, because each stock, each option moves differently. Some are more volatile than others. You might have one that expires in a few weeks. You might have one that expires today. So they're going to move totally different. If you just use 50 cents and you're trading an option that costs $1,000, you'll probably get stopped out really fast. You know, you'll need to really look at it individually on an individual basis. And you'll need to look at, okay, how is this stock trending today? Maybe plot the option out even. And if you see like, okay, the option is pulling back continually, like each time SPY pulls back, the option pulls back by 30 cents. Maybe you could do 30 cents in that case. Maybe you go look at something like Tesla, and maybe you're trying to trade Tesla options. And maybe you notice, okay, you know, Tesla has been uptrending really good from this bottom. Each time it's pulled back, you know, about $2 on the stock, the option fell around, I don't know, $100, right? So in that case, you need to do like $100 or 1.00. So, you know, it's really depending on how the trend looks, how volatile it is, and then adapting from there, really. You said like for a breakout? Yeah. Yeah. I think you're getting it now. Like today even, for example, like, you know, Tesla had that breakout there, right? Again, you'd probably want to go like look at Tesla's movement yesterday, right? Maybe look at, okay, whenever Tesla moved $2, how did their options go, right? Now, obviously, if it expires today, you're going to be dealing with a huge difference. And, you know, options do change from day to day. But nonetheless, it will be, it'll still be fairly close for you if the stock makes a move. So, yeah, you can calculate it like that. You could get a lot fancier with the math. But by the time you do all that, your trade's going to be over. So, it's not really worth it in my book, but... The chop is why I don't use stop losses. I know it's not smart. Well, I watch it and not scared. Got tricked left and right when I started every time. Go straight at it. You know what? Some people's stop losses might not work for them. You know, but if you're not using a stop loss, of course, you must have some pretty good targets to the upside, I would hope. And, you know, those better make up for your losses or else things are going to add up. What's up with GameStop here? Tesla's pulling back pretty hard. Let's go see GameStop. Wow, straight up from open. I was hoping it was to the upside, Jason. Okay. It's not up too much, but it does have good PA. Look at yesterday. It had a weird drop and then almost like a move to like today. Straight back up. Kind of weird. Looking at the daily. Oh, okay. You know, they've had a lot of good candles lately, if I'm being honest, so... This one is one of the better ones, I must say. That is a good move back. Wow. How's SPY? Are we still above 661? Oh, yeah. Very choppy on the way up, but pretty straight up from open today, I will say. Hard to trade in the middle of the zone, though. With all that up and down chop. TSLA pulling back here. 434 resistance overhead. Let's actually look at this trend line on Tesla. Rejecting right at the trend. That's not good for them. Uh-oh. Not the best thing to see for Tessie there. Guess it depends like where you put this. But... Pretty strange setup for Tesla. I don't want to become too bearish on them, but this resistance at 433 on the left side is critical. We can tell it broke this trend of higher lows recently as well. Mason, where's my Waffle House at, bro? Where's the Waffle House? Did Tesla hit? Oh, no, it didn't. I was gonna say, where's our Rolexes at? Was that yesterday that we were talking about that, or what? What was the parameter for that again? I can't even remember. Something had to get to like a certain price. Could have shorted the top on Tesla, Demir said. Yeah, it could have been a good one. I wish I could have seen that one as it played out there. It was 2 days ago, Tuesday morning, Tesla 450. Okay, okay. Dang, I see now. Demir says, no rollies for anyone. Hey, there we go. Mason sold out of calls for 500, but made 1,100 on the puts yesterday. Wow. That was quite the drop with Tesla intraday, too. It was a wild day of selling yesterday. A fun one, though. Fun one, nonetheless. Very fun, very fun. Juan, for that hedge play, do you see? Oh, I got you. Tom, look at MP plummeting. MP Materials is plummeting today. Oh, that's quite the pullback. It failed to get back above $80. Okay. MP. Of course, she had to have a bad move like that. Hopefully Team USA can get the Ryder Cup going a bit better here. City said, Mason, you owe me a flight ticket to Vegas. Mason's going to buy us all plane tickets, and we're all going to meet up in Vegas tomorrow. Actually, scratch that. Tonight. Christian said, what are we jumping on? I'm liking the bank action here. Bank of America, JP Morgan. I guess it's... JP Morgan's not my favorite, but SPY has been pretty good today, Christian. You know what? Amazon starting to move pretty well here. Amazon, 218.50, bouncing up. Boeing is getting towards the top of the watch list today, 4.7%. Might try to break out above 224. Intel up another 3% today. Although this happened with the gap up. So I was actually eyeing these bad boys up in pre-market. Yeah, banks are pushing pretty good. I liked BAC. Let's go check some of the others. Some of the, I don't know. I'm not going to say like lesser known ones, but like Goldman, you know, straight up $800 breaking out. I know a lot of people don't like to trade Goldman because it is 800, but nonetheless, it gets good action too. WFC is another one that can get fun from time to time. Sometimes WFC has some of the best action out there. on like whenever the banks are generally doing good. 1.4% today, pretty solid. DVLT, Hayden says. Man, Wells Fargo looking good. You're right. Yeah, these banks are pretty solid here. DVLT, Data Vault, AI. It's a $1.30 stock. I don't think I've heard of this one yet. DVLT. Wow, look at it a couple days ago. Gosh, we're getting some crazy moves out there by some of these AI stocks, and sheesh, DVLT is $1.30. I gotta look into this one a little bit. What is it up? 200% the past couple days or something? Yeah, 220%. What do you think about LEU, Yvonne said. Wow, DVLT though, I gotta write that one down in the notes to check on. LEU, pretty weird on the daily. I like the price action yesterday. It looked pretty good for a breakout today, but strange how it ran up at open and then died instantly here. I would say pretty strange movement overall. Oh. Oh, JT, what are you doing? All right, Tessie, back to it. 426. If you're just now joining up today, destroy that like button. Let's go. Pretty wild end of the week here with PCE data coming out this morning. I know that we haven't really mentioned it too much here yet on the stream. That's mainly because it came out right as expected. Nothing really surprised anybody. The core inflation rate held at 2.9%. Let's go to the economic calendar, give her a quick refresh. And we can see right here, core PCE 0.2, consensus 0.2, previous 0.2 even. Personal income, personal spending, I mean, everything was pretty much right in line. Nothing crazy. Nothing too crazy there. All the numbers, it says, were in line with Dow Jones consensus forecasts. It said spending and income numbers were slightly higher than expected, but again, nothing that really scares anything or has anything too crazy right there for the market, right? The implications of this were not that crazy. Let's go look at the FedWatch tool yesterday. I did not refresh this, so this is actually brand new. 85.5%. was the chance of a 25 basis point rate cut yesterday. 14.5% was the chance of a pause. Let's refresh this now and see what the difference is. This was the numbers from yesterday though, at market close or just after. So let me refresh. So it was 85.5 and it's still that right now. It's the same exact reading. This might update in a little while. Usually we see it update with PCE data, things like of that nature, but I guess again with it being as expected, nothing too surprising right here. Wex said, got my trailing stop on QQQ now. Went past 596. Crazy rejection back with QQQ already. Tried to go up to test that high of pre-market, but really failed there on that run. SPY just pulled back pretty harshly. is trying to test 661 now. This is a pretty critical area. We've watched this one quite a bit today, as you guys know. Lots of touches and hits around 661. This overall range is pretty large, though, as we know. We can even tell by a lot of these wicks today that where SPY tried to fall back down, but, you know, ended up pulling back up there. Is Costco a good buy at this level, Yvonne said. Let's go see COST, Costco. It's hard to say Costco's a bad buy, if I'm being honest. It's hard to say that. They are kind of at the bottom end of their range, too. I don't think it's a bad time to start averaging in, personally. I don't think it's a terrible time. You just have to be wary, though, and just understand, okay, you know, if Costco does keep going down and there does start to be a broader downtrend that plays out and some of these supports start breaking, you're going to need to look at averaging in more over the longer run, right? Like, if Costco truly does start dipping, like, if you buy it here, I don't think that's terrible. I think you're getting in at a semi-good spot based off the setup. You're getting in at the lower portion of the range. A pretty good area of support. Pretty close to the bottom anyways. Now, as we get to the bottom, you might want to look at going half of your position on the first X, the second half of your position on the second X. Now, if it truly gets into a real broader downtrend, then you're going to need to adjust your mindset and start to look to play it out for a couple years potentially. So I wouldn't do anything with it that would tie up all of your capital unless you were willing to play it for the longer term here. But I definitely like dip buying it right where it is now with like shares. And then of course, as we go forward, you know, maybe buying up the dip a bit more and then watching and waiting to see if support gives out or not. I think it's a pretty smart move. You're using support to your advantage. Just the big negative is if you get stuck in for the longer term. That would just be the negative there. But again, Costco is a pretty crazy brand and company. I am pretty confident in them for the longer term. But again, you have to be willing to average in if the support breaks, or else you have to be willing to cut there, right? Or you have to be willing to cut. QQQ's flushing, Juan said. Really? Wow, what a sell-off. That's a lot of red out of QQQ. Dang. SPY seeing it too. Getting through 661 and actually falling through the zone in a pretty crazy way. Oh, so there's an afternoon match with the golf, too. I didn't know that. I didn't know that today. I know, Mason. Yeah, they did. Don't worry. USA always does bad in the pairings. I don't know why, but it never goes very well. Usually USA comes back on, like, the singles and stuff. Energy fuels is falling hard here, Yvonne said. Pretty big pullback there. Yeah, $17 coming up. Let's go check on those banks again. Bank of America, of course, you turn over right there. Wells Fargo's is stuck at the top. At least it didn't turn over like Bank of America, but nonetheless, it's not the best PA to see out there. SPY drops $2 in 8 minutes, Hugo said. I know, that was quite the pullback, Hugo. Pretty insane. All the way down to 659.50 now. I must say, we got right to resistance. 662 and 662.50 hit. You know, that was our next big area of resistance, so it's not the most, I guess, surprising thing in the world. I wouldn't have held calls past there, that's for sure. Yeah, it's pretty crazy there. How's Michigan consumer sentiment? Came in at 55.1, pretty much around expectations. Nothing crazy there either. FAA to allow Boeing to sign off on 737 MAXs, 787s after years of restrictions. No wonder Boeing was doing so good this morning. See you later, Demir. Go have fun on Darkest Hour. What about Palantir, Yvonne said? I've been watching Palantir more to the downside. Lately, it's doing pretty good to the downside today. It touched 180 and has been rejecting at 180 since open. And yeah, looks pretty good back down again. I like it to the downside. I feel like it could actually continue down here for a little bit. It, putting pressure on the low of day again. Yeah, new low of day just made. Now posting down 2%. Wow. Look at Meta pulling back. Some rough price action today, that's for sure. SPY had that really nice move at open. Too bad. Might have to start adjusting here as we go into the middle of the morning. We're about 45 minutes in. Let's go see Open Door. .28% pullback. Open Doors had some pretty good days recently. Where's the gap at? Question, think Oracle will try to close that big gap up to 240-ish? Dang, SPY just broke 659.50 now again. Another crazy drop. 659 coming into play. Let's go see Oracle. Think it'll try to close the big gap up to 240-ish. Let's see. That is a big gap, I gotta say. Wow. That's a gap down to 240. Do I think it'll try to close that? I could see it bouncing off 260 as well. My heart says no, but my mind says yes. My mind says yes, though. I think that there's a pretty good shot, Dark. It would be a big drop from where we are, but I don't think it's that crazy of a drop, if I'm being honest. I think it's possible for sure. Why is Aqua Metals AQMS? Are they jumping? Why are they pumping so hard? It might have something to do with some of this rare earth news from the past few days. Let me triple check here with some of their news. Aqua Metals to participate in the Battery Show North America 2025. VP of Commercial to discuss critical minerals and trade policy. Wow, okay. Aqua Metals stock jumps over 35% after hours amid CEO stock award disclosure. Looking through the news, I'm not seeing too much news like for Aqua Metals here. But it halted today. It had a circuit breaker to the upside this morning, weirdly enough. Wow, yeah, ride it open there. Wow, okay. 5-minute halt. Pretty crazy. Aqua Metals up 58% though. I'm not seeing any news either. I'm going to have to go on Twitter or X. You guys see anything with it? Anywhere? Christian said, I don't see Oracle dropping that much. They will keep it up. They could. Here's my thinking, Christian. I actually went... Now, you know, I didn't go through the percentages, but I went through Oracle's chart, and I looked at a lot of the gap ups, Christian. And, you know, a lot of these gap ups end up filling. I mean, it's weird, but, you know... I mean, you can pretty much pick, like, any gap on the Oracle chart, and it fills it. Unless it's a super small gap, right? But like any of these bigger gaps get filled. It's kind of strange. I mean, it's a bit weird. I can't lie. You know, it's a bit strange on Oracle. Even right here. Even right here. I bet people said the same thing, Christian, right here. They probably said that gap's not going to fill again. And then, well, you know what the stock did? It had a 20% pullback. How much of a pullback do we have to have right now to fill that gap, right? That's my big question. Let's see. Now, just because it did this in the past doesn't mean it has to do it again. And it might take a while, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen right away either, but let's see how much of a pullback from the high it would have to fill this gap, which would be 25%. So really not that crazy of a pullback. You know, if we look at all the pullbacks that this stock has had, like here's a 40% pullback. that it had from the beginning of 24 to the beginning of 25. What is this one? This is 22. I don't even want to count that one. That one's too big of a pullback. I don't know. I guess my point is just, the stock has some pretty good up and down movement, I would say, overall. There's a lot of weird moves that this one makes. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. You know what's kind of crazy, Christian? They've actually already, you know what? They've already pulled back 16% from the high. I mean, that's a pretty big pullback already. It's not really that much more to fill it. It's already halfway there. Christian, here's my point, right? This is just my point. I think there could be volatility where it's possible that we do something like this. That's all I'm getting at. Not that I, trying to say it can't do it. $284, $285 going to be pretty critical here, it looks like, though, on Oracle the next couple trading days. It recently did just break through a pretty big support. Hopefully we can get this dip bought up soon. Pretty wild whenever you look at this one, when you zoom out on like a 5-minute from earnings, just how crazy it's been since then. Poor Tesla rejecting at resistance, unfortunately, today. It would have been nice to see Tesla really break like 434, 435 and go on a run, but that is not what happened here. Not even close. I don't own any, but we'll go long on some calls soon. Hell yeah. I feel like there could be a good buying opportunity soon on it. Off of this dip that's going on. Meta, new low. Tesla might turn over. Tesla's been pretty rough. Look at Meta turning over. Sheesh. When is Meta going to find a support today? It blasted under the low from yesterday and is like not finding any support at all. Has a lower high in the short term, too. That's not good to see. Not good one bit. How are we looking on the Ryder Cup? Let's see. Oh, good. At least Schauffele and Cantlay are winning. We're screwed on all the other players. Gosh. Everything is falling. Amazon almost turned over as well, Juan said. Let's go check on AMZN here. That is a pretty big turnover. Watch 218 coming up on Amazon. $218 support probably going to come into play. Probably will even break down today, for being real, with the way things are turning over. These are some strange patterns today. Strange intraday setups, I would say. Yeah, J Bass. It's not mine, you know, it's a YouTube thing, but here, I'll post up the link to this synthwave if you guys want to see it. It's actually pretty neat. It's supposed to be, I think it said autumn of the 80s or something, but index ETF is a bubble. Which one, Hugo? Spy? Juan says, come on, tank. You want to see more selling? I don't blame you. It's been doing it quite a bit, though, today, so. Oh, Spy and QQQ. Okay. Gotcha. $5.90 down there. We see Mag 7 shirt thing. Mag 7, let's see. Looks pretty solid. Nvidia looks rough. 1.36% to the downside. There goes Tesla down to around 422. Everything's trying to bounce, Juan said. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Everything, pretty much. Here's Amazon here, 218. We can see 218.20 here. Meta's hitting 740, crucial support. Let's go look at it on the daily. 740 touching pretty perfectly here. I like it. That is a pretty crucial area too. Very critical. Lots of good bounces here close to 740. Can it hold it up here though? That's the question. It's only down 1%. It's not really down that much. Costco's down $26, Jake said. COST? That's a pretty big pullback by them today. You're right. It's weird how they're consolidating here intraday, though. I don't love the PA off that. Seems hard to trade and flat right now. Obviously, it'll probably move more later on, but just don't love those ranges like that. How's everybody's Friday going, though? Is everybody having a good Friday so far? I know it's been a pretty crazy week out there. Hopefully everything's all good. A lot of different price action this week. I'm sure the bulls were not enjoying some of it, but, you know, those of you that adapted probably love it, right? I heard some great things about playing puts this week. A lot of good profits being posted, things like that, of course. Everything's trying to bounce. Let's see if 590 on QQQ will bounce or not. Got SPY. How's support coming up on SPY? Pretty decent, 658. Wax said this is unfortunately one of the bigger loss weeks. Oh no. Don't know if it's buy the dip or a rug pull, Hayden said. It seems kind of like a rug pull if I were to pick one of the two there. At least on SPY. Let's go see AQMS though. Aqua Metals could be a different story. This one looks a bit more wild. Again, though, probably leaning more towards a rug pull. There will probably be some point of the day where there could be a dip buy opportunity. Does it mean that we should try to go after it, though? I would say no. given how much it's up today and how wild it is. I wouldn't touch it. NVIDIA tank. That's what we need, Juan said. For NVIDIA to tank. It's been doing pretty good here to the downside today. Pretty consistent. Can almost draw a trend line. I bet I could clone it and even throw it on the other side. Yep. Pretty close anyways. A little downside channel action today. Jake said, we don't need that. I want everything green. NVIDIA hitting SMH 318 support, Dark O'Clock said. $318. What's up, Dark? Oh, I see what you're saying now. I see what you're saying. NVIDIA dropping is making SMH at 318. I see now. Okay. Okay. Sorry, that that was a cryptic one, Dark O'Clock. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it's too bad Team USA forgot how to play golf today. It's all right, though. You went to play yesterday and got whacked. Oh, no. Hopefully your stop or your strategy helped you out, but not to lose too much. Tessie's coming up off the dip pretty well here. Wow, we're starting to see a bit of a shift. A lot of back and forth price action today. Look at NVIDIA breaking out of the downside channel even. That's pretty insane. What do you think about Circle, Yvonne said? CRCL? Circle, 123. I like their sector. The stock has been pulling back so hard, though. I know that they were that fun IPO a few months back, but it has died off for sure. I don't really love it, if I'm being honest with you. I would still let it play out a bit more. I feel like you could get it a bit cheaper, even than where it is now. But I do like it's pretty close to support, if I'm being honest. It's just such a crazy and volatile stock that it appears to not move a lot. But even from like this recent high to the bottom, that's a 16% pullback in like 4 days. That's pretty rough. Very, very rough. Go check on the SPY again. What is up, America? How's your day going? 2 more big L's for me today. Got direction wrong near instantly both times as usual. Trading cash so low. Now I don't have any more to trade for the day. Ah, you're trading cash. Okay. That's good though, Weck. That's good. It's keeping you from over trading. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I see what you mean, but that could be a good thing in theory. That means you might be trading a little too much for your account size. Probably. And I also mean like maybe too much of your account going into one single trade maybe as well. Yeah, oh, I got you. I see what you're saying, Wack. What about IREN then, Yvonne said? Man, Wack, I'd really look into some longer term stuff here since the shorter term doesn't seem to be favoring you very well. IREN's a pretty weird setup here. I like $40 support on IREN. Looks like it's holding up pretty well. It's starting to break out of this weird setup this morning too. Strange movement, but whenever I go to the daily, though, it definitely worries me that there could be a much larger pullback coming into play. That is a rough drop with IREN down 9.8%. That is a rough one. Long term works fine. Was trying to add on it. I see what you're saying. Hayden said NBIS. Nebius. 104 trying to make a bounce. Let's see the daily on NBIS. It's been a while since I've looked at them. They're actually holding up pretty well. They're turning over a bit here intraday in the past couple trading days, but I would actually look for it to make a move similar to where the arrow's pointing, where it kind of consolidates for a few days and then ultimately starts to break back out again. That's what I'll be watching for with NBIS, possibly. Doesn't mean it has to go that way, but it will be something that I watch for. I was watching this on Intel, actually, quite a bit as this week went on, waiting for a dip down to support and then an ultimate recovery and move higher. And that ended up being a pretty good move and a pretty good way that the stock ended up playing out there. On some of these gap ups, it's amazing. You'll see it play out exactly like where I'm pointing with Intel. A lot. Where you'll get a gap up, you'll get a few down days, and then a larger recovery coming into play. It happens all the time. It's one of the quintessential bullish setups or bullish runs, right? You'll see that happen quite a bit. Can affirm Flushmore. Well, it can. It definitely can. Does that mean it will? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It hasn't been to these levels in a while. Zooming out on a 15-minute chart, this is a pretty big area of support around 75. I would think it's pretty hard to flush under here today. I would say it'd be pretty hard to keep flushing, but it is possible. I would look for it to stop soon. Omega did profit on Amazon and Palantir calls. Thank you. Nice. Trade some Amazon calls. Okay. All right. Maybe doing some dip buy action on these two. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Intel's jumping up, Hayden said. Looking pretty good again intraday. Yeah, solid. Really solid. It filled the gap, actually, from this morning. It had a little gap up in pre-market. Filled it pretty perfectly and has been bouncing back. I love the setup again. Yeah. Love the PA. Love the setup. Overall, great. Let's go, Intel. Keep it going. Hell yeah. That's pretty awesome right there. What are your thoughts on SPY, Mr. Charles said? Let's see, SPY. Thoughts on the SPY? I mean, 658's obvious support. Obvious support here. Intraday. As 659.50 broke. This was a pretty good area from pre-market as well, and after hours. Lots of bounces there. So 658. I was watching more for of a drop-off down to around 656 or even 655 again. Honestly, but seems like SPY is getting very choppy here in the middle of the day. I'm going to be just straight up blunt. I feel like SPY is hard to trade today. I do not love the PA. I feel like there's a lot of up and down, a lot of sporadic action. And obviously that happens a lot, right? Intraday. But I feel like today specifically, just the way in which some of these moves have occurred are a bit more on the wild side, I would say, of trading. Whereas yesterday, I thought the price action was a lot easier to trade. You know, we had a clear resistance. It would like hit resistance, double top, and then tank back down. In the morning, we had that nice drop to support immediate recovery. And again, after that recovery, resistance came into play. And that'd be kind of like where we are right now, as far as like the day is concerned. Now, right now, SPY's been holding up really well on 658. You know, but we've had a lot of bearishness over the past few trading days. So it gets you thinking like, okay, are we going to actually get a bigger drop today? Are we going to actually get a drop and break of support? And I think there's a good chance today. And that's why I think it's ultimately a harder day to trade, is that we have to really go for this support break or go for a support bounce if you're looking at SPY, right? Obviously, there's like two ways you could go here. This is a very critical level. And so far today, every time we go up, we went back down. Every time we went down, we went back up. So it's a bit of a weird spot. In theory, we would go back up from here, you know, keeping with the norm of the day today. But again, that's not really how trading works. It's dynamic as time goes forward, things change. But yeah, I'm looking for more of a 658 breakdown, if I'm being honest. It's just, again, it's not my favorite price action here today. Not very directional. And then we're just also in a very choppy area. See a W on SPY to 660. I see what you're saying there. Like for right here, like another support bounce back forward. Again, I think that that's a route that you could try to go and try to trade, right? Like you could probably set up a trade like this. You could set up a trade for a move back to 660. You know, you could put your stop just under that recent low. And, you know, your risk-reward ratio is fantastic here. I mean, that's a great risk-reward. You have to be pretty quick and stop out, though, if it does end up breaking. You might end up stopping out a little worse. And that'd be okay. You'd still almost have a 2 risk-reward. Even if you widen the stop. It's not a bad way to go at it, really. But there's no crystal balls out there, you know. It's almost like we have to pull out the crystal ball to, you know, if we knew it was going to break down or bounce at 658 for sure and go back to 660, we'd be millionaires today. Right off the bat, we'd all be millionaires. Dark O'Clock said, what do you think of MRVL in relation to its industry peers in semis? MRVL, you know, it's one that I don't look at too much. I do look at it from time to time, being in the semiconductor sector and being a chip stock, but it's obviously not near as popular as some others. Like, I would much rather look at MU, for example, Micron, like if I had to pick a different one, or AMD, right? Like, I like these stocks a lot better. I feel like MRVL, you're picking an underperformer. Now, I like Intel, and I'm not saying that they're the best performer either in the chip space, but at least they're getting some hype to them. Lip Bhutan, let's go. Hugo said it better go to 662. Back to the high of day, okay. That would be a bit of a wild one. If we continue with these wild swings like yesterday, that might just happen. Like I said, though, I'm leaning more of a breakdown here. Let's look at the economic calendar for next week. What's on the radar? Tuesday, September 30th, we're going to get JOLTS job openings. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one. ISM manufacturing PMI. October 1st, Friday, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a crazy week next week with JOLTS and non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. My gosh, jobs data, jobs data, jobs data. 3 different pieces of data next week that will highly impact what the Federal Reserve looks at for FOMC rate cuts. Right now, there's an 85.5% chance of a 25 basis point cut being priced in at the next meeting, which is on October 29th in about a month. 85.5% chance of a 25 basis point cut. I wouldn't really try to, Yvonne. You know, if you try to just swing some options over the weekend because there could be a big piece of news Monday that moves the market maybe, or, you know, even over the weekend or something, just keep in mind that's super risky. You know, like, what if it causes it to go in the direction you don't want, right? It's a bit strange there. It's pretty risky. It's almost like swinging earnings or something. It's not really the best thing to do in my eyes. I always tell people, don't swing over the weekend if you can help from it. Now, if you're already in longer term swing trades, that's fine. I what kind of news are you even mentioning, Yvonne? I don't even know. Goose said the MRVL PE ratio is awful. I haven't eyed up the fundies on it. Oh, we're starting to look like Wumbo on the SPY. Any thoughts on QUBT? What's up, Ryan? Get the pineapples, what? QUBT. Pulled back pretty hard, watching support around $20 to $20.50. Not the best movement so far. Canal says XLE. Oh, you're not doing options? Oh, okay. XLE, the energy sectors, popping off pretty good again today. Yeah, XLE 1.4%. Looking at the daily, continuing really well. Mike talked about this one on last night's video. That was fire. Zom was talked about a lot as well. That was a really cool move with Zom here this morning. Let's go. That is quite the break. Great move by Zom. Let me check some here. Yeah, tech leads the market here. Oh, I didn't know that, Ryan. You learn something new every single day. I would have never guessed that, Ryan. I'm going to start just driving around looking for pineapples hanging outdoors, honestly. I'm going to go up and down every block around me till I find a pineapple. Then I'm going to dress up like SpongeBob. Palantir, let's see. Let's see. Pretty consistent downtrend there as we started to break through that downtrend. Palantir did pop up slightly, but little scalp opportunity on that. What would be a good call option on RZLV? Resolve AI. I know this one's been popular lately. A good call. A good call on this one would probably be no call. Probably no call. That's a pretty wild one. I would hold off for a bit. Man, what a weird drop off. What a weird drop. SPY, lower highs and higher lows. We need to see SPY really hold here at 658 today. What do you think about Lucid stock? Seems like the short float is leaving ever since the 10-to-1 split. What are your thoughts of it? Of course, for the longer term. Thank you. You know, Lucid has seen some increased activity lately. I've been watching their stock quite a bit. It recently dipped under that support at 20 on that reverse split, but it came right back up. I mean, I think it was $2. Yeah, $2 at the time. But it broke it and then recovered right back to the upside. I think that it's a pretty good move overall. Lucid's going to have some problems, right? They're going to have a lot of up and down price action, a lot of up and down movement. So we need to be just mindful of that and understanding that there's going to be wild moves. It probably won't just recover straight back up. Although if you're going to be a share player, I think that this is a pretty good spot to get in for shares. You know, if we start to see a big drop out of Lucid, you know, you'll probably want to cut under $2 again at like 20%. Maybe you could go a bit more, you know, ideally down to that low. That would be like a 35% stop, though. I mean, that's a pretty big stop. Then again, though, I mean, this is a pretty crazy stock. Like, if we are right here, you know, to have a 1-to-1 risk reward, you know, we would need to get a move up to like 32, essentially, which is doable on this stock. Very doable. I mean, it's done it every time off support, at least up to 33.50. So that's pretty solid, or at least 30. So that puts you pretty close at least. And if we get up to the real high, you're talking 50%. And, you know, if we talk about a real recovery happening, I mean, it could be much better than that. So I think it's actually a pretty good opportunity. It's just that you have to really believe in Lucid. You know, I'm not a big Lucid fan. I don't own Lucid or Rivian. I'm not going to own them. Maybe one day, but not right now. That was a long time Intel was stuck in this range here. Intel's one of them, Yvonne. Intel is one of them. From the lower range, of course, though. DraftKings, one of them, too. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and name every single thing off, but... It worked like that last few days. No, it's not going to get to 550, Canal. Maybe in a long time, I would say. That would be pretty crazy. Canal said betting on what people get addicted to is pretty safe. In that case, you should go buy up Philip Morris. They make e-cigs and cigarettes and all that jazz. Go check out Philip Morris. Maybe also check out, what's another one? MNST, Monster. Celsius, maybe. DraftKings. You're a share player with Lucid. You got the big money. Lost twice. Made money on the shares, though. Would love a recovery to 33 so I can take some profits there. There you go. Dark O'Clock said, or weed stocks. I didn't think about that. That's true. Those ones have sucked, though. Those have not been a good one in that case. In that regard. Alrighty, guys. We're probably going to call the stream right there. I appreciate everybody for joining up today. Thank you for being here as always. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Let's go, Canal, Goose, everybody for joining up. Thank you. It's been a great week. Shout out to all the lurkers out there. Thanks for always joining up on the lives, watching the videos, joining up in the Discord as well. Alrighty, I will talk to you guys later. See ya.